My name is Nadira Cole, and the worst thing I ever did wasn't lying. It was staying quiet when my cousin decided who I was allowed to be. Before I tell you how this ended, before banks froze accounts and phones rang at 3 in the morning, let me ask you something. Have you ever been judged by someone who never bothered to learn your name properly? Have you ever been reduced to a joke at a dinner table and expected to laugh along? If you have, tell me in the comments. Share this story with someone who needs it. And watch until the end, because what you think this is about, it's not. It started, like all humiliations do, in front of family. Marcus leaned back in his chair, glass of wine tilted toward his mouth like a victory trophy. My aunt was mid-sentence, talking about taxes or loans or something that made everyone uncomfortable. Numbers always did that. Silence crept in, heavy and awkward until Marcus laughed. Nadira wouldn't get it, he said, waving his hand without even looking at me. She's bad with numbers. I felt every eye slide in my direction. My mother stiffened. My uncle coughed. Someone snorted. Marcus smiled wider. I mean, no offense, but you can't be trusted with money, right? I waited. I counted the seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3. I could have corrected him. Instead, I picked up my fork and said nothing. See? Marcus continued, enjoying the space I gave him. She knows it. Some people just aren't wired for this stuff. You hear that, Nadira? My aunt asked gently, the way people do when they think they're being kind. It's okay. Not everyone has to be good at everything. I smiled. A small one. Polite. Harmless. No, I said. It's fine. Marcus laughed again. That was his favorite sound, his own. I'll handle the finances when I launch the company, he added. God knows we don't want her messing things up. That was the moment. The exact moment he decided my future for me. You see, Marcus had always been loud confidence wrapped around thin competence. He spoke in declarations, not questions. When we were kids, he cheated at board games and accused everyone else of not understanding the rules. When we were teenagers, he failed math twice and blamed the teacher. When we became adults, he turned that same arrogance into ambition, and everyone bought it. At family gatherings, Marcus was the one to watch. The entrepreneur, the golden boy, the future success story. I was the quiet cousin, the girl who listened. The one who wasn't good with numbers. Don't worry, Marcus said later that night, clapping my shoulder like I was a child. You can help in other ways. Logistics, emails, stuff that doesn't, you know, require thinking? I asked. He laughed. Hey, I didn't say that. But he didn't deny it either. I went to bed that night replaying his words over and over. You can't be trusted. Funny phrase. Heavy phrase. People don't realize how permanent it sounds until it sticks. The next morning, Marcus called me. I need help, he said. Nothing complicated. Just organizing some paperwork. You won't mess with the numbers. Of course, I replied. And just like that, the role was set. Every time he needed something checked, he said, just skim it. Every time money came up, he said, I'll handle it. Every time someone questioned him, he pointed at me and said, she's bad with numbers. Ask anyone. I let him. Not because I believed him, because I understood him. Marcus didn't want the truth. He wanted a hierarchy, and he needed me beneath him to feel tall. So I stayed quiet. I watched. I listened. And I started remembering everything he never thought I'd understand. Marcus launched the business 6 months later, and he announced it the way men like him announce everything. Loud, premature, and already taking credit for success that hadn't happened yet. Cole Strategic Solutions, he said at another family dinner, tapping the table like a podium. We're scaling fast, private clients, serious money. I nodded, chewing slowly. You should come help, he added, glancing at me. Nothing financial, obviously. Admin, scheduling. You're good at that. I'm great at that, I said. He didn't hear the emphasis. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a narrow office that smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink, surrounded by boxes labeled invoices, receipts, MISC. Marcus paced behind me, phone pressed to his ear, lying with the confidence of a man who'd never been challenged. Yes, yes, projections look strong, he said. Cash flow is clean. I looked down at the spreadsheet on my screen. It wasn't. But I said nothing. Marcus handed me a folder without breaking his call. Just scan those, he whispered. Don't worry about the totals. I didn't worry. I memorized them. At first, it was small things. Numbers that didn't line up. Expenses categorized twice. Transfers rounded up instead of down. The kind of sloppiness people ignore when they're dazzled by confidence. I wasn't dazzled. Did you notice the marketing costs jumped? I asked one afternoon, keeping my voice neutral. Marcus waved me off. Investments. You wouldn't get it. I can read, I said. He smirked. Reading isn't math. I wrote that one down too. Every day, Marcus talked money like it was a language he invented. Every day, he made sure to remind me I wasn't fluent. You don't need access to that, he said when I asked for login credentials. I'll explain it if it matters, when I questioned a payment. Just trust me, when trust was the only thing he never earned. So I trusted myself instead. I started keeping copies, screenshots, notes scribbled in the margins of old notebooks, dates, amounts, patterns. I noticed which clients paid late, which vendors were overpaid, which transfers went through at odd hours. And then there were the withdrawals. Small, careful, always just under the threshold that triggered alerts. I stared at the screen one night long after Marcus left, the office quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. My reflection stared back at me in the dark glass. You're bad with numbers, I whispered. The numbers disagreed. I opened a new account the following week. Not in the business's name, not in Marcus's. In mine. It wasn't dramatic. No secret meeting, no locked briefcase. Just a form, a signature, and a decision Marcus never imagined I was capable of making. The money didn't go there yet, but it would. Marcus started leaning on me more as the months passed. His confidence grew louder as his foundation thinned. Double-check this email, he'd say. Make sure this looks professional. Remind me to follow up. I forget details. Details were all I saw. One night, he tossed his phone onto my desk. Read that for me. Numbers make my head hurt. I raised an eyebrow. Thought I was the bad one. He laughed. Bad with important numbers. This is just a quote. I read it, memorized it, filed it away. At family gatherings, the narrative hardened. Marcus is so good with money, my aunt bragged. Nadira helps him stay organized, someone else added. Organized. That was my new title. Marcus drank it in. Without me, she'd be lost, he told my mother once, right in front of me. I give her structure. I smiled again. Same polite smile. Same silence. What Marcus never noticed was how often I asked questions he didn't answer. How often I stayed late. How often I wrote things down twice. He mistook my quiet for confusion. By the time the first client complained about a missing payment, I already knew why. By the time Marcus started blaming the bank, I knew which transfer caused it. And by the time he said, "This is why I don't let you touch the numbers," I had already decided what I would touch. Just not yet. Not until he was certain the story he told about me was true. The first crack showed up on a Tuesday. Marcus burst into the office late, jacket half on, eyes sharp with a panic he didn't know how to hide yet. He dropped his bag on the floor and stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed him. "Something's off," he said. I didn't look up. "Define off." "The balance. It doesn't make sense." I waited. "You were here last night," he added. "Did you move anything?" There it was. The shift. Subtle. Predictable. "No," I said. He squinted at me like he was trying to remember something he'd already decided to forget. "Are you sure?" "Yes." He exhaled, loud. "This is why I don't like other people near my accounts." I turned my chair slowly. "You mean me?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." The room went quiet, thick with accusation. Marcus cleared his throat and opened another spreadsheet, clicking too hard, too fast. "This is serious," he said. "If numbers are wrong, clients lose trust." I nodded. "They do." By Friday, the whispers started. A vendor called twice asking about an invoice that had supposedly been paid. A client emailed, polite but firm, asking why their transfer hadn't cleared. Marcus started snapping at everyone, at the intern, at the receptionist, at me. "Did you file that? Did you send this? Why is this missing?" Each question carried the same unspoken answer. Then came the meeting. Family meetings are dangerous things. They feel safe. They aren't. Marcus called everyone over on Sunday night. Urgency wrapped in authority. Papers spread across the dining table like evidence in a trial. My aunt sat stiffly. My mother avoided my eyes. Marcus stood at the head, hands braced on the table. "There's a problem," he said, "and I need transparency." I felt the room tilt toward me before he even said my name. "Nadira," he continued, "you've been helping with admin. Files. Documents." "Yes." "Some things are missing." "What things?" He slid a folder toward the center. "Payment records. Receipts. I can't reconcile the totals." I leaned forward, flipping through the pages. "These are copies." "So where are the originals?" he snapped. "In the archive cabinet, where you told me to put them." He shook his head. I checked. "They're not there." I met his eyes. "Then they were moved." "By who?" Silence. My aunt shifted. "Marcus, are you saying—" "I'm saying," he cut in, voice rising, "that Nadira has always struggled with numbers. She gets confused. She misfiles things." I laughed. It slipped out before I could stop it. He turned on me instantly. "This isn't funny." "No," I said. "It isn't." "You've cost me time," he continued, pacing now. "Clients are asking questions. Banks are asking questions. And you think that's because I'm bad with numbers." "That's not what I said." "That's exactly what you said." My mother finally spoke. "Nadira, did you make a mistake?" I looked at her. Really looked. "No." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "See? She won't even admit it. This is what I mean. You can't trust someone who doesn't understand the consequences." "Or someone who refuses to look at them," I said quietly. He ignored that. "I can't have this," he announced. "Not with the company at risk. From now on, Nadira won't handle any sensitive materials." "Sensible," my aunt murmured. I nodded. "If that's what you want." Marcus blinked. He hadn't expected agreement. "You'll still help," he said quickly. "Just away from finances." "Of course." That night, as everyone left, Marcus pulled me aside. "Don't take it personally," he said, lowering his voice. "This is business." I smiled at him. "Everything is." He didn't see the way my hands trembled. Not with fear, but with something sharper. Relief. Because the moment he cut me off, he also cut himself blind. He didn't know I already had every record he accused me of losing. He didn't know I'd memorized his patterns, his shortcuts, his lies. He only knew the story he'd told for years, that I couldn't be trusted with numbers. And as he locked me out of the system the next morning, As passwords changed and access vanished, I opened my own files at home and updated my notes. The separation was complete. Marcus thought he'd removed the problem. What he'd actually done was give it privacy. The collapse didn't arrive loudly. It crept in through unanswered emails and calls that went straight to voicemail. Through Marcus pacing the office longer than usual, through coffee cups left untouched, through the way his voice lost its rhythm. He stopped announcing wins. Instead, he muttered excuses. "It's the bank," he told the receptionist one morning. "They're slow." "Clients dragging their feet?" he said another day. "Not my fault." I watched from the outside now, deliberately distant, deliberately useless in the way he'd always wanted me to be. A week after he cut off my access, the first account froze. I wasn't there when the notification came in, but I could picture it perfectly. The red banner. The bland, polite language. Temporary hold pending review. Marcus called me that night. "Do you still have the old files?" he asked, breathless. "Which ones?" "Don't play games. The records. The backups." "You told me not to touch sensitive materials." There was a pause. "I didn't mean forever." I closed my eyes. "Then you should have been clearer." He hung up. The next call came at 2 in the morning. "This is serious." "Nadira?" Marcus said, voice stripped bare. "They're asking about discrepancies." "What kind?" "Transfers. Timing. I don't know." "I thought you handled the numbers." Silence again. Longer this time. By Friday, creditors started circling. Emails grew less polite. Subject lines hardened. Urgent, final notice. Marcus showed up at my apartment unannounced, tie loose, eyes bloodshot. "You need to help me," he said the second I opened the door. "Help how?" "Figure this out. You're organized. You remember things." "I remember being told I couldn't be trusted." He rubbed his face. "This isn't the time." "It never is." Inside, he paced like a trapped animal. Someone moved money, or the system glitched, or... He stopped, looking at me carefully. "You didn't, right?" I laughed. Again, that sound betraying me. "You think I'm capable of that?" "No," he said quickly. Too quickly. "Of course not. You're not... You know." I did know. That night, the second account froze, then the third. Marcus's voice started cracking on calls. His confidence evaporated, leaving behind something small and frantic. "Just buy me time," he begged one client. "Please don't escalate," he told another. The family noticed. "What's going on with Marcus's business?" my aunt asked at dinner. "He's busy," my mother replied. "Stressed." Marcus didn't come. Instead, he texted me. "I need you. Please." I didn't respond. The bank's deadline came 3 days later. Marcus called everyone except me, lawyers, advisors, people who charged by the hour and spoke in calm tones that meant nothing was calm. By the time he finally called me again, his voice was unrecognizable. "They're going to shut it down," he said. "All of it. Unless I can cover the shortfall." "How much?" He hesitated. "A lot." "Numbers make your head hurt, remember?" He swallowed. "I shouldn't have said that." "No," I agreed. "You shouldn't have believed it." He came over again, collapsing onto my couch like a man who'd aged 10 years in a week. "You don't understand," he said. "This is everything. My name. My future." I watched him carefully. The cousin who once decided my worth with a laugh. "What do you need?" I asked. "There's a transfer," he said. "If I can make it, the bank will release the hold. But the account?" He trailed off. "What about it?" "It's restricted. I don't have full access." I raised an eyebrow. "Whose name is it under?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at me like the answer frightened him. "Someone I trusted," he said quietly. And in that moment, I knew. The collapse was complete. The bank lobby smelled like disinfectant and fear. Marcus sat beside me, knees bouncing, suit wrinkled beyond saving. He hadn't slept. I could tell by the way his eyes kept darting to the glass doors like he expected someone to come in and drag him out by the collar. "Just let me talk," he whispered. "You don't need to say anything." I wasn't planning to. The banker called us back. Small office, neutral walls, a desk that looked designed to keep secrets. "Mr. Cole," the banker said, fingers already moving across the keyboard, "your business accounts are under review due to unresolved discrepancies." Marcus nodded furiously. "I understand. That's why we're here. There's a transfer that can resolve this, temporarily." "Yes," the banker replied, "but the originating account is not visible to you." Marcus blinked. "What do you mean, not visible?" "It's not listed under your permissions." He turned to me. "That's not right." The banker looked between us. "Ms. Cole is the authorized holder." The air left Marcus's lungs in one sharp exhale. "What?" he whispered. I stayed quiet. "That account," Marcus said, leaning forward. "That's a contingency fund. I just didn't finish the paperwork." The banker shook his head. "The account was opened 18 months ago. Sole authorization. No pending changes." Marcus stared at the desk like it might rearrange itself. "Nadira," he said slowly, "why is your name on that account?" I met his eyes. "You said I was bad with numbers." That was... He laughed, brittle. "That was a joke." I didn't laugh. The banker cleared his throat. "If you'd like us to proceed with the transfer, Ms. Cole will need to approve it." Marcus's head snapped toward me. "Approve?" "Yes," the banker said. "She's the only one who can." We were silent on the ride out. The elevator ride felt like it took hours. When the doors finally opened, Marcus grabbed my arm. "You planned this," he said. I looked at his hand on my sleeve. "Let go." He did. "How long?" he demanded. "Long enough." "You stole from me." I smiled. "You never gave me access to anything that belonged to you." He paced the sidewalk, dragging his hands through his hair. "That money was for the business." "No," I said. "It was for stability. I just defined the terms." His voice dropped. "Say it." "Say what?" "That you knew. That whole time." I leaned closer. "I knew before you blamed me." His face twisted. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you never asked the right question." We stopped outside my apartment. The city hummed around us, indifferent. "You can fix this," Marcus said. "Just make the transfer. We'll forget the rest." I studied him, the man who'd reduced me to a punchline. "What happens after?" I asked. He hesitated. "We rebuild." "And my role?" "You help. Like before." I laughed. This time I didn't stop myself. "You don't get to decide that anymore." His voice cracked. "You're enjoying this." I shook my head. "I'm surviving it." I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. The account balance glowed on the screen, steady and real. Marcus stared at it like a mirage. "You're not allowed to see this," I reminded him softly. His knees nearly buckled. "Please," he said. I looked at the screen, at the numbers he never believed I could understand. "I haven't decided yet," I said. And for the first time in his life, Marcus had nothing to say. The pressure arrived before dawn. My phone lit up with messages I didn't answer. Missed calls stacked like threats. By the time the sun rose, the family had mobilized. My aunt first. Voice syrupy, sharp underneath. "Marcus is falling apart, Nadira. He says there's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't." "Well, whatever it is, you've made your point." I hung up. My mother next. Quieter. More dangerous. "He's your cousin." I closed my eyes. "He decided what I was years ago." "That doesn't mean you ruin him." I didn't build his business, I said. I just watched it. By noon, Marcus himself was back at my door. He didn't knock. He leaned on the bell until the sound became unbearable. "You think you've won?" he shouted when I opened it. "You think this makes you powerful?" I stepped aside. "Come in." He did, pacing immediately, anger flashing over panic like a mask that didn't fit anymore. "You humiliated me," he said, "at the bank, in front of strangers." "You did that," I replied. I stayed quiet. "You always do," he snapped. "That's your trick. You hide and then what?" I cut in. "Then you collapse?" He stopped. "This money," he said, lowering his voice. "It's mine." "No," I said. "It's accounted for." He laughed, short and ugly. "You think this makes you smart? I think it makes me careful." He stepped closer. "If you don't transfer it, everything dies. My name, my credit, the company." "And if I do?" He hesitated. "We survive." I tilted my head. "You survive." Silence stretched. "What do you want?" he finally asked. I didn't answer right away. I watched him unravel, the arrogance peeling back to reveal something raw and small. "I want control," I said. His jaw tightened. "Over what?" "Everything you never let me touch." He shook his head. "You don't understand the pressure." "I understand numbers," I said. "And timing." His voice broke. "Say it. Say you did this to hurt me." "I didn't need to," I replied. "You did that yourself." Another knock interrupted us. My uncle, then my aunt. They crowded my living room like a tribunal. "This has gone far enough," my aunt said. "Transfer the money. End this." Marcus looked at me, hope flickering. I opened my laptop. The banking page loaded slowly, deliberately. "I'll do it," I said. He exhaled hard. "Thank God." "But not the way you think." His smile faltered. "What does that mean?" "It means you don't get access," I continued. "Ever." "That's not acceptable," my uncle snapped. "I wasn't asking." Marcus lunged forward. "You can't." "I can," I said, "because you already gave me everything I needed when you decided I couldn't be trusted." The room went dead quiet. I typed in the amount. My finger hovered over the confirmation button. Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please." I clicked. The transfer processed. Relief flooded his face, too fast, too soon. He didn't see the rest of the screen. Not yet. But he would. The confirmation email arrived before Marcus finished exhaling. His phone buzzed. Mine didn't. I'd already muted everything that could beg. "That's it," he said, staring at the screen like it was proof of resurrection. "It went through. The hold should lift by morning." He looked at me with something close to awe. "You saved it." I closed my laptop. "No," I said. "I stabilized it." His smile lingered, confused. "Same thing." "It really isn't." The family drifted out one by one, relief softening their faces. My aunt hugged Marcus like he'd survived a war. My uncle clapped him on the back, already telling him what he should do next. No one looked at me. Marcus stayed. He paced less now. The panic had burned off, leaving behind entitlement. "So," he said, loosening his tie, "we'll need to talk about roles." I met his eyes. "There are no roles." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means I don't work for you." "You can't just disappear," he said. "You're involved now." "I was always involved," I replied. "You just refused to see it." He scoffed. "You think one transfer makes you untouchable?" "I think it makes me invisible again," I said. "And I prefer it that way." His phone rang. He answered, nodding, murmuring reassurances. "Yes. Yes, it cleared. No, we're fine now." When he hung up, the color drained from his face. "They want oversight," he said slowly. "Independent review. Temporary restrictions. I nodded. That's what happens when accounts behave strangely. He stared at me. What did you do? Exactly what the bank required, I said. Nothing more. He lunged for my laptop. I closed it before his hands reached it. You're not allowed to see this, I reminded him. The realization hit him all at once. Not anger, not fear, smallness. They don't trust me, he whispered. I tilted my head. Strange how that works. He sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. You ruined me. No, I said calmly. I documented you. He looked up. Why didn't you ever correct me? I considered the question. The years, the dinners, the laughter. Because you needed me to be bad with numbers, I said. If I wasn't, you had nothing. His mouth opened, closed. I'm leaving, I said, grabbing my coat. Where? Somewhere I don't have to shrink. At the door, I paused. For what it's worth, I added. The business didn't fail because of me. He didn't respond. Outside, the city moved on. Cars, voices, light through windows. The account remained where it had always been. Visible to me, invisible to him. And that was the only correction I ever made.